Maps 1 and 2, barn burners. Absolutely incredible series currently being played out between LG and IMT. This is VCT Challengers Stage 1, Week 2. My name is Bach. Joining me on the broadcast is Van Silly. Our throats are already getting sore because these first two maps have been so incredibly good, but it's a great problem to have as we get ready to jump into the third map in the series. It's Bind, and we've talked about this a few times already, Van Silly. I don't want to sound like I'm beating a dead horse, or beating a dead dog, as Scrawny would say, a phrase that doesn't exist, but he tried to pawn it off as a Canadian thing.
Yeah, and I remember him also casting that it was a Brazilian hot dog instead of a top dog. Anyways, different story.
Bind, it's not a map that went well for LG the last time these two teams faced off against one another.
Yeah.
Are you still worried for LG coming into Bind? Because IMT has had pretty good success rates on Bind, but that said, LG did beat 100 Thieves on this map yesterday, so
exactly,
still something to look at.
That's why I'm not worried, because when you're looking at 100 Thieves, you still always think that 100 Thieves are going to be good on a map like Bind, because we've seen, for example, the highlight reel of the 3K Rocket from Asuna going into that matchup in First Strike before. We see how Steel in the past, when they first came into the iteration of that roster, was playing as Killjoy and playing that super well. But the thing is, LG had a small ace under their sleeve, and that's bringing it out Stellar with a Sage instead. What that means now is for LG in general, they're pulling out one of their duelists away. So that's your board Dre back into a smoke player, while you have Thief that's going to switch out from Phoenix and play Raze. But what was the key component, again, is that Sage. The Frost Orbs were just perfect to counter any type of Raze play versus Asuna towards Sands, towards Hookah, and not allow 100 Thieves to take control of that Hookah site for the splits into B. So very hard to deal with. That ended up being that... The victory for LG over 100 Thieves at that point. Now, is it going to be the same result for Immortals? Potentially, looking at what Immortals would play on this map as well. I'm pretty sure that they also bring a Raze usually on this map, if we're looking at it specifically. But even if they don't, I still find that having that Sage in the lineup for Luminosity right now could be a nuisance right now for Immortals.
You know, yesterday, watching Sliggy, who was actually doing a watch party of this, both of us members of the Slug Club, by the way, big shout out to Sliggy. He was talking about the composition that they were bringing into the fold, and how it seemed odd that 100 Thieves wasn't prepared for it, basically. Like you said, this is something that we see all the time in Europe. We're used to that Sage play on Bind, but it worked out so incredibly well for Luminosity. Now, looking at this last map, we saw many highlight plays. That one, of course, with Thief was a round lost off the back of some great shooting with the Sheriff. You could see this take from multiple angles, as they thought they were going to get that opener, but it didn't really pan out that way. You've got your boy Dre, who played aggro in this round. Early on, LG was really controlling the pace on the defensive side, and it looked like it might go a little bit stronger for them. You see several rounds like this one as well, with Thief in a great position. They were getting aggressive and taking the fight to IMT, but Immortals adjusted and found some stability. And then there's that rocket, which, Rito, please. It still confuses me. I don't understand how the player died on the other side of the wall.
Yeah, and it was just a lot of clutch plays, again, like we saw in Icebox for both of these teams, to show such a close showing in the end on the scoreline for this series. So it shows how much both of these teams, both of these players are stepping up. I know that usually as a caster, we usually like point out maybe one player that maybe isn't performing as well as they usually do. Not saying that they're totally bad or anything. It's just like maybe they're having an off day. But when you're looking at this series, we haven't called anybody out. Everybody had their moments to shine, and everybody played very well. So I'm loving the type of gameplay that's coming out of both of these rosters right now for LG and for Immortals. And now it's time to talk about that third map, Bind. We talked about it a little bit before, but again, to go back on LG on yesterday's victory versus 100 Thieves, there were also a couple of rounds that came in favor of LG because of these clutch plays that I just mentioned before, and that's off the back of Moose. So a 4K, a 3K with the Stinger before 2 to help them win a 3 versus 2. It shows how much that they're a little bit more comfortable playing this map with the changes that they've had for the agents.
Looking at the last event as well, we saw Bind played pretty heavily by Immortals throughout. Looking at the qualifier as well, they beat Envy, Xset, Genji, Luminosity before finally losing to Sentinels. That was obviously the first time we'd seen them play Bind this year. We haven't seen them play Bind since that Grand Finals, obviously, because they've only played one series since that Grand Finals lost to Sentinels in the first close qualifier. But I still anticipate good things. Now, is there a possibility that Immortals could get real tricky here and maybe bring a Sage into play themselves? Could we see a switch up? Maybe, but it seems rather unlikely that a team who has been that consistently solid on the map, which is crazy too, because it's not even just this roster, it's like all of their rosters have always been pretty good on Bind. So I don't anticipate us seeing too many different change-ups here on the map. And we'll see. It looks
it's
like
just
we're
shot
gonna
up
see
playing with us right now, but I don't think we're gonna see Yoru in here. But like I said here, they do bring in a raise, right? They won versus Immortals 13-3, sorry, the last time they faced off against each other, as you mentioned here, Bach, and they had a raise in there. So that having a Sage for LG could be that answer again, as I mentioned before, about that battle for the control into Hookah. Now I think when you're looking back at Immortals, they're pretty good at holding Showers control. And holding Showers control on the defender side for Immortals is off the back of Chemicals and of Nature. So which is why I wouldn't be surprised to see Nature playing as a Cypher into this map instead of a Killjoy, just because the camera and the trapwires and the cyber cages are so good to prevent these type of early pushes into the Showers control for the attackers. Okay.
Now, that is a switch up. Last time they played this map, ShotUp played as Phoenix, not as Breach. So we saw the initial tease on the Breach pick, then was teasing us as well, going full troll with the Yoru selection, which didn't end up happening. And I'm still kind of curious if we ever will actually see that. But then he does decide to go for Breach. So it's a different comp than what we've seen before. Clearly feeling confident as Breach. It's interesting, though, because it does take away some of that duelist nature that you get with ShotUp, because you don't have run it back. You don't have the self-heal. And Curveball is strong, and so is Flashpoint, so I feel like that's kind of a moot point as they kind of combine. But, you know, you do get a little bit more flexibility for a player who has got some more survivability, potentially, with Phoenix. Whereas Breach, you know, obviously you get the flashes and you get that ult, but I feel like the rest of his kit isn't going to really favor someone like ShotUp's playstyle.
Yeah, I'm just literally, I had the gears turning in my mind to see how maybe they could play with the Breach inside the defender side for Immortals. I could think about now the Showers control, instead of having having the Cypher going instead, you could definitely use the Breach to help out. He could play towards the U-shaped hallway, which he currently is right now. That's a very good spot for Breach players to prevent these types of aggression and dashes, or should I say satchel charges from Raze into the site, currently being used by Thief. So we'll see how it pans out once we get live here into the matchup, once we get the gun rounds going, once we have the ultimates going as well for both of these teams. But nonetheless, we have started the third and final map of this best set of three in the semifinals of the upper bracket. Winner of this gets into Masters. And it's going to be LG looking to execute into this B site off the back of the Owl drone, and Thief ready with the paint shells. Here they come with the push in.
I like the fly in there as well. The wall's going to come down. They can't break it in time, so they're going to keep on chiseling away at that ice. And they do eventually form a gap, but it's too late as the spike's already been planted. So it's 5-on-5 retake territory. So many flashes coming out between the Flashpoint and the Paranoia. Your boy Dre and Stellar both combining. It's a bloodbath on the site, and it comes down to the last target. ShotUp, who goes for the leap, and a Proto catches ShotUp as the jump flash comes out. 1-0 in favor of LG. That pistol round should be just a taste. That is an appetizer for what will be the main course of this third and final map.
That's insane. It was back and forth there. It was two-toned onto the top right score on the kill feed pretty much, because it was trade after trade. So yes, it is going to be an appetizer of what's to come. It's going to be a bloodbath for these teams. Already your boy Drake going with the Phantom, and it's an all-out stinger for Immortals. Looking to still play a default at this point though. You have that Showers control, and this time you see that Chemicals is playing towards towards Hookah, which is something that's very important for Raze as well, which is why potentially having a Breach instead for stopping ability to prevent these pushes with fault lines and flashes, you can now put Chemicals into a site right here with a Raze, just to try to fight back versus the Stellar control versus the Thief control in that actual spot.
Currently playing dodgeball in Hookah as the Razes. Both players currently dodged the ball that was coming. Ultimately, it was the nade being sent out. Paint shells coming in from both. This is something we saw from Immortals before, and it was really difficult for their opponents to deal with, was their ability to control showers with nature. Now, what they didn't anticipate at the time was they weren't facing off against a Sage. So now the Sage wall comes through and makes it a little bit more difficult and tricky for them. There's great shots coming in from Thief, spotting out the first player exiting the showers. Good move to get away from the cubby or the pocket as the lightning bolts coming through. The shock darts from their Sova. Recon dart will give away the first player's position. He's going to have to move, and as he shifts, he gets called out. And it's down now again to a 1-on-2 this time, actually, as it's going to be a Proto. He's got to be careful. The rocket doesn't get fired, but it's okay. Gangsta's there, and he hits him with the kneecap shots from the Stinger. Are we really all that surprised to see the pistol round get traded back with a Stinger purchase? No, but what I am surprised is that we already saw a showstopper ult in the second round. What is happening?
That was actually pretty insane to see a showstopper on second round. So Chemicals, yeah, he's got six kills on the board and died the previous round, so he definitely did have the ultimate ready without needing to pick up any orbs. So very well done there for Chemicals to make things very, very stressful for LG. And on top of that, helping Immortals actually get that round to tie it 1-1. So having a showstopper out in the second round, even using it so early, I love it, because at the rate that Chemicals is going, there's a potential that he might have 3 or 4 showstoppers into the half if he steps it up the way that he does, controlling this hookah area.
Chemicals has some backup as well from the Cypher cam that was in the corner. As I say that, the Cypher cam is completely removed from the scenario. It'll be another round of Stingers, SMGs, potentially even shotguns. Cyber Cage is going to go down, so they'll know there's a potential second target there. They actually swap spots. So Thief is now going to be battling up against the Cypher. They have not really managed to gain control of hookah just yet. They're slowly and methodically pulling away what limited utility Immortal has. And that's what allows them to get into the hookah position now. So they've got control of hookah, and they're working up long as well. We're going to see a split here in just a moment. This position in the cubby should not work out too well for their Raze. Might get the first one, but immediate trade out, exactly what we expected to see. The recon dart does give away the position as Nature's trying to hunker down inside the tube. Actually, great shots coming out, but it'll ultimately be Immortals coming through on top with, again, Gangsta, the star performer from Nat 1, stepping up here in the third round.
And the economy is still going to continue to be kind of broken for these two teams, so I wouldn't be surprised to continue to see like these forces coming back and forth. Looking at IMT right now, there you go. So IMT right now still on Stingers, still on Spectres, and for LG, well, they're forcing up for Stingers at this point. It's going to continue this way. Potentially until LG wins 2 rounds in a row, or of course if Nature and company win this next round, then the economy is definitely going to be settled finally into like a normalized first half. And as I'm talking about normalized, it's the first time that Chemicals actually rushes out of the hookah side, not making things normal at all from the first half, how things have panned out on this hookah control, but it's traded out right away. It's a 4 versus 4, no information after that. We're trying to take showers. It's a big paranoia that allows Nature to get 2 kills.
Cage trigger.
And that's very well done here for Immortals as they look back towards the APC, and Nature is just on a run. A self-boost on the wall. The wall has been broken at the same time. Stellar trades back onto JC Stani, but knows that Nature is just around the corner. He's by himself, and Nature gets the quad kill for the round.
Nature and JC Stani lock down Showers so incredibly well. That tandem duo in Showers has worked out in several matches in the past, and the timing on this paranoia could not have been better. Catching the first target and then the second as well, and then Nature on the site manages to convert on a third despite being low on HP. Somehow hits the headshot onto Stellar to finish off the 4K. An impressive stop championed by the Cypher for Immortals. And we'll see the full buy come through. Chemicals is going to go with the AWP, despite the fact that he's playing as Raze. It's not something we see all that often, Raze with the AWP. But it is Chemicals after all, and I'm sure if anyone's going to make it work, It can be him with the way that he's played when he's had the AWP in his hands, which has been somewhat rare. It hasn't been something that we see a whole lot of, and in general, it's not something they typically go to in their repertoire. The shock dart's going to miss, which will allow him a little bit more staying power in this position. There's a follow-up shock dart, or the recon dart, excuse me, coming out from the Owl. And now the ice is down, and yeah, you're not getting away from that one. Good luck. That's where not having Jet is brutal, because you don't have Tailwind to get out of that. So you're stuck into that position. At best, you can blast pack and escape.
I have the
but
spike.
It's just a change-up of mechanics that maybe he's not as accustomed to when it comes to the getaway tactics.
Yeah, and after I watched how Nature and JC Stunning played towards that shower side, it brought me back. At first, before I started this game, I did talk about Chemicals and Nature in that spot, but I do see the importance of having JC Stunning there instead, and how they played here with Nature, so that it could actually use that paranoia to really hold down that shower's control. Well, you always keep Chemicals on his B side, or with the operator, or with the rifles to hold B. That said, though, with the first player falling down for Immortals being Chemicals himself, with the AWP being down at the same time, with an ult inside that site, noticing that it's open, they just run in, and it's going to be an open plant, and we're trying to play the retake, and it's once again, who better than Immortals Gangsta getting 1 kill with the Hunter's Fury to even up the tally on a 4-4.
Gangsta's success rate with Hunter's Fury is so insane. These flashes as well going to be pretty difficult for Thief. Shot Up does take significant damage in the fight against Thief inside Hookah, but it's coming together so nicely. Now, there is a Hunter's Fury here for Moose, but he's playing on this spike a little bit closer, able to take down Shot Up around the corner, but realizes this round's lost. There's nothing that can be done. There's so much flash firepower being sent that direction, so it's better for him to just escape.
JC Stunning so close. This battle's happening very soon here, just around the corner of the showers. It's a recon dart, and he saves it.
Survives, yeah.
Just like with the last second, that could have turned any other way, but you're lucky here for Moose to stay alive, and thankfully here as well, you're counting your stars as you have 4 ultimates. You already had the res ready for Stellar on that previous round, but he didn't have any opportunities to actually go for any reses here. So now you have Moose with a Vandal. He does have the Hunter's Fury, and you also have Thief with a Showstopper. So this could go back into this mixed buy for LG and try to utilize those ultimates into your favor to try to narrow up this lead that Immortals is currently slowly walking away with, as they're showing continuous dominance here towards this B side, or should I say towards the scoreboard. And as I mentioned, sometimes we switch things around, and there you go. You see Chemicals now going into the showers and getting paint shell kills towards the shower side.
There's the ult being used, the Showstopper. No, doesn't fire it inside the can. There is a player that was inside bin, but they've been taken care of. There's a counter ult coming out, but the rocket doesn't produce the success. Great shots coming out from both sides. And you've got the ult ready. The res is going to come through. There's Rolling Thunder in exchange for IMT. And oh man, this is going to be awkward. Rolling Thunder on the backside of site. There's the Aftershock coming through as well. There's still one more backside site. It's Shot Up with 4. Shot Up dumps everything at them. Flash, Aftershock, the ult as well, and just runs in full force. We said before, Breach is not typically the type of agent that would play to the strengths of someone like Shot Up, who wants to get aggressive and take that battle to you, and he proves us wrong.
100%, and that's where you, as LG, you're giving so much respect for Shot Up at that point, because I'm pretty sure Shot Up was low HP, right? When we looked at that replay, which means now in a 1 versus 1, Stellar has a res, is like, screw it. I just want to try to bring the numbers advantage on my side. But with that ult, now you give away where both players are at on that res, and that Rolling Thunder for sure will hit them. And you have the aggression of Shot Up. The way that he plays the Duelist continues mechanically to be sound and good as that Breach to capitalize on those 2 kills. So it was close. They almost had it. They didn't use the Hunter's Fury. They still managed to get into the site, but there was no plant, and it's still going to be Immortals taking the lead by 4, and also a 1-man advantage into this round as they lose control of Tehuka. That's Thief to fall, and the rest of them will try to rush up towards this A side now.
There's the wall going up. This one cuts across. That means that it's going to be a default and U-Haul push that has to come through to retake the site. You've already got Nature on site as well. Knows there's potentially one around the corner, but is slowly and methodically clearing things out inside U-Haul. And That's what you want to see if you're LG, finding that first kill, because that player was in position, poised to make this threat more viable for Immortals. The shots from Chemicals haven't been where they needed to be, and now they're going to hear the rotate out as well. The blast pack will allow Chemicals to escape relatively unharmed. Recon Dart goes through, doesn't give away the position. That's going to be a false sense of security here for Moose. It doesn't go deep enough around the corner, and now he's going to peek with a knife out. It's a nice shot from Chemicals as well, straight to the dome. Had to get into that position to dodge the blast radius of the spike. But it's a round for LG. They desperately needed to grab. Again, though, you go back to asking yourself, at what cost? Comes down to one player. Like, that's an expensive round to win.
Exactly. I wouldn't be surprised if it's still a broken buy here. Yeah, see, Gangsta, if he wants to get full utility because he died, will probably have to go small shields. So that's Gangsta and Shut Up having to go small shields. You're looking at LG. The rest of them are okay, though. Even though like they only had one player alive on that push, they're still going to be good. There's only Thief that has to go with a Bulldog. But full shields, and you still had money in the bank, of course, because you get 3,000 credits. With the amount of bonuses that you've been getting on those previous rounds, then you finally break the bank slowly for Immortals, but you also have enough here to go for the buy off that victory. So LG still has a chance to bring this back into the first half. But it's still going to be now just that control. Actually, I was going to talk about that a little bit. I didn't see that much of a heavy showers presence for Immortals on that previous round, potentially because you have Chemicals as the operator and you wanted to play towards that heaven side, which then allowed players here for LG to get control of the A side. And now off of camera, they're going with a drive-by stinger on that previous patch. 2 easy kills and a Man of Edge back for IMT.
3 kills, cover.
Again, mentioned how good their showers control is, and you can see it playing out here. Even without nature, they're able to lock down that position with JC Stanny. Sure, he ultimately does die to Stellar, who comes through, but a quick flick from Chemicals after coming through the dark cover. The last remaining player on site is your boy Dre. Hold on. This round is not over. Most importantly, has the spike and the ult available. Goes into showers, which could have been a little bit sketchy, given that the last remaining player was actually in showers. Decides to deady on that as well. So you're going to see the portal potentially utilized, but no. The last remaining player can't give away that audible tell. Has to run all the way around. Your boy Dre is going to gain significant clock, but the position is played currently towards spawn. He might not anticipate this play coming through from Hookah. It's all about timing. How long will your boy Dre watch that before thinking it's going to come from another direction?
Oh. In the end, your boy Dre will be able to get it. It's a tough one because at his position, like looking at the overhead view, it's like, okay, he has plenty of time to work with. He can go anywhere that he wants around that B site to play that pulse plan into his advantage. But little does he know, putting yourself into his shoes, that opponent could be anywhere right now. You have no information where he's at.
Yeah.
So you're playing inside that cub, you are like, oh crap, is he going to come in from spawn? Is he going to come in from the site? Both of these players are playing 50-50 and trying to gamble where their opponents are. So it was stressful for both sides, and thankfully for your boy Dre, he had better positioning in the end, based by, I would say at this point, luck.
It was a good thought as well by Gangsta, who ran back from showers to short, anticipating a fake port out. So even though from the shadows was utilized, there was an anticipation that maybe he could try to bait or rotate to B. Had he done that, there would have been so much clock available for him. But that doesn't end up being the case.
Oof.
LG has to be careful. They give a lot of site control here. They played super passive on this because of the way that they went through the port early on in the round. So now they've lost control of B. To a certain extent, excuse me. Misspeaking. My brain got all confused.
Enemy tag.
It's almost a mirror match, so we get it at this point,
I was
too.
speaking,
I mean,
speaking
they
of the
try
other
to go
side,
for this
yeah.
eco. They get the double dink as well onto Thief, who's trying to get control of that hookah. So with that, he's forced to fall back, and then they decide to push towards this A side because even though he got dinked, he knows that there's some way of a stack because of a person playing under. Yeah, I think he saw even a second player as he was getting shot in the face. And then now you're fighting with only classics at this point versus Immortals, and you're able to tie things up, or almost tie things up. It's a 5-4 on the scoreline. You're able to bring the money back here for Immortals, and now this full gun round, we'll see what happens.
I totally went full potato there and was thinking that IMT was sneaking on the site from long and Thief was holding from hookah. total brain fart in how I was even speaking. Don't look
Listen,
away,
man, it's
even
been
for a
an
moment.
intense series of back and forth that it's very hard to say who's really taking the lead in this series, so I totally get it.
And you know what? I went to take a drink and pull up stats on the side, and in that process, I got distracted. I was trying to find if I could see a success rate or a kill tally for Gangsta with that ult on this map. Like, how frequently or how many kills, for that matter, does Gangsta typically get with the Hunter's Fury per map? It's hard to find a statistic like that. No one currently tracks it, so I was looking to see if it was available, but unfortunately, not to be the case. And this is why I brought that up. His success rate on Hunter's Fury is so insanely high, especially across this series. I would love to see just how many total kills he has this series with that ult, and how big the impact isn't even measured in that. Because some of those kills were doubles that gave them a 2-player advantage, or even brought it down to even strength. Gangsta on site does ultimately die in the end. So that player we were praising for the ult utilization can't do much with the rifle in the 1-to-1 exchange, but it's still a 3-on-3 because of some of the work that he did early in the round.
Well, now with the attempt coming back here for Immortals, they have one player that's low on HP. That's a big paranoia. Stellar is going to get caught from that, and now shot up. Probably still has another flash and an aftershock. So to gain control of this site, your boy Dre's in a do-or-die spot. A big paranoia too at the same time. Lines them both up to get a 4K into the round. The clutch pretty much on the 3 versus 2. And LG, they do manage to tie it up in the end here, Bach.
Eerily reminiscent of a round that played out on Icebox as well, when you had your boy Dre back behind yellow. It was a B-side plant. He tried to get the ace, almost did, got a 4K, got cut one short. Double peak resulted in that 4th kill, mind you. Immediately traded, almost to the extent that I didn't realize he got that 4th kill because it happened at the same time. It was simultaneous kill and death. Here, though, LG has kept themselves alive. They've already done better than the last time these two teams faced. They only got 3 rounds last time around. So looking a little bit smoother here, but sure wasn't a great start. IMT controlled the early game. LG has woken up just a bit. This round doesn't look too pretty from the buy standpoint. Oh, whoops. Well, the nade was supposed to bounce off the solar panels or a satellite dish, whatever you want to call that, and go into hookah. It doesn't quite land. Instead, goes sailing into the distance. In the meantime, we had 1-for-1 trades, putting us at a 4-on-4. There is an ult available currently for both sides, Showstopper and Rolling Thunder. Your boy Dre able to spot out shot up because from the shadows, ult allowed him to get into this heaven position. The wall's going to go down from Stellar yet again. That cuts things in half, and he's realizing, I think it's just better to get out of here. So the spike will be planted, and it'll be a 4-on-3, excuse me, with the retake team slightly at a disadvantage. Shot up starts to chip away at the ice, but your boy Dre able to come through swinging, grabs 2, and now it's all up to Shot Up. He's been heroic in his performance as Breach thus far, and actually somehow dodges the bullets point blank range, flashes and goes back the other direction. Moose cannot be fooled. 6 rounds now for LG in the first half on bond.
Last round to come up here, and it continues to show how LG is not out of this fight yet. They're tallying up a lot of rounds, stringing a lot of rounds right now to show more dominant here at attacker side.
I think you're muted on my side, Vansily, so I'm not sure if you're still here. I think I lost you. Hopefully you are, and I'm not talking over top of you.
We're good.
But, okay, we're good. I thought maybe you had fallen down a well. I was about to call Lassie over here. I'm looking for the boomer.
Nobody knows who Lassie is at this point.
Well, I'd make a boomer dog reference to save a boomer man himself, so it's okay.
But yeah, sorry, I was muted on Discord, but we're good here on the stream. So definitely I was saying that the LG definitely showing that they're stringing a lot of rounds here, still showing a lot of fight and grit into this round, but as they're trying to showstopper into the site, tallied with a paranoia that is thrown there from LG, your boy Dre, we still had Chemicals that was still able to land an operator shot onto Thief that also cancels out the showstopper. Now they gain a lot of map control. They don't lose any damage at all. And this is just going to make things harder here for LG to take the site.
Well, it seems all too fitting that the scoreline would be 6-6 at the end of this first half. Moose is trying to show that that's not going to be the case, that he's got a little bit more fight left in him. He's brought it down to 4. He's trying to hit shots right now, but with 43 HP, it's only a matter of time. Ends up dying to his doppelganger. Rolling Thunder popped at the end. We are moving into a second half with a tie score, but we're going to throw things to a very brief break. And when we come back, we'll be seeing which team can gain control with a pistol round win. Stay tuned.
Show me what you got. Back that up, 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 back that up.
And we're right back into the thick of it as the second half commences. It's time to see who's going to take control of that scoreboard. Kicking things off with a pistol round win would be huge. As it's Immortals, who looked good early on. Then they started to fade a bit. Shot up. Going ahead and leading them in with the fault line coming through. Boostros try to kind of slow them down a bit with a shock dart. Wants to send his Al drone out flying. Recon dart into position. Will give away the position of Stellar, who's now in hot water on the site. Desperately needs help. Good dink shots coming down, but no kills coming out as of yet. Immortals crushes that B-side defense that was set up for LG.
Damn.
They're now in a 5-on-1, an incredibly strong take from IMT to kick off this second half.
That's strong. The flashes, the pushes in, the frenzies, of course, leaving Thief on a 5 versus 1. Yeah, there's 2 players that are low on HP, but he won't be able to do much, especially there after he gets stopped by Cheesy Stani. A team ace on top of that. So a flawless, a team ace, and Immortals, they let LG come back into this game, but they want to continue their streak like they had at the beginning of the first half. After converting on the force buy on that second round, they just want to run away with this and punch that ticket through. And we were scrambling a little bit, Buck, for a few rounds because we were trying to figure out, you were talking about the stats and everything too. Big shout out to Run It Back. I think I was able to finally find that command. So if I was able to do a command to find how many Hunter's Fury kills that Gangsta was able to get here on this map for Bind for the amount of times that he's played, I don't have the sample size of how many maps he's played it, but he's got it 10 times. But if I look into his career, he's had 49 Hunter's Fury kills so far. With the amount of times they're able to get the ultimate. So when you're thinking about it, there's not many times that you actually bring out a Hunter's Fury into your matches. Let's say on average 2 per game. And if you're able to tally up to 49 of them in total, it shows how effective you could be with that Hunter's Fury. But it'll be nice to get the map pool as well to figure that out later on. That said though, 7-6 here for Immortals as we're moving in on an eco for LG, a proto inside the showers. But as things calm down from that smoke, the rest of the action is pushing back towards this B side.
JC Stani on the site. Going ahead and sticking that spike for Immortals. We've talked about how scrappy and hard-fought these second rounds can often be. This paranoia could be big with the build-up currently in spawn. It doesn't hit the target to the left, and they know that JC Stani is here inside tube. They're trying to get back out onto the site, but Immortals, again, is stomping out the retake potential, but your boy Dre pops off with the stinger, almost makes it possible before who other than the player we were just speaking about, Gangsta, putting his foot down, stomping out the flames of a hot retake coming in from LG 8-6. Immortals retains control of the scoreboard.
Yeah, that's one of the players that when I was watching before for Immortals in the first iterations, especially of Immortals in the beta days. It was like, yo, we have to look out for Gangsta. The amount of times that he's able to get shock dart kills onto this map, the Hunter's Fury that he usually throws into the elbow down towards Long B and vice versa to try to take that kind of control, it's changed a little bit. We haven't seen that much of that into today's matches, just in general, because as the meta continues to shift forward, teams are getting ready and used to how they could counteract on these type of plays that are now becoming a little bit more gimmicky. But with that, though, we do have one player that has fallen early into this round, as LG is trying to use the low weaponry that they have to try to come back into this round. So one to fall, the rest of Immortals trying to push forward into the site, then an aftershock that comes in towards you, so that allows that control for Immortals at the same time. They're trying to take down a Proto, and they managed to do so finally.
One enemy remaining.
One enemy remaining. You heard the call come out. The remaining enemy is going to be Moose. He's up in heaven. He's only got a Sheriff. Again, around, going in favor of Immortals. A blistering pace in this second half as they pick up the first two and likely the third, unless Moose can do the impossible and manage to win a 1v4 close plant with just a Sheriff against SMGs. And they've got great setups as well. There's no way. Now they know where he's at. Nice shot, actually, out onto Nature. Might get onto site, take some damage on the fall. Hold on. Moose is doing damage. Sure, he's not going to win that round. We know that. But costing them money, that's important, especially because that round was more of a bonus setup. So anything he can try to strip away to make it cost even a little bit more, even though they might potentially throw those guns away to purchase rifles, is important.
Yep.
Every
and
kill
even
counts.
then, I just feel bad for Moose, too. There's been so many rounds into this series where he's, like, on his lonesome, having to try to do any type of damage, any type of clutches. I'm just thinking about Icebox. I think there was 2 occasions for that as well. Just a little bit tough here for LG, where you want your friends, your teammates to help out a little bit more to maybe try to make these rounds a little bit closer. But now, as we're trying to look back into this round, we'll see now with LG, with the money that they have, with now Stellar playing inside this hookah area as that Sage. Again, it's that battle, this time a different player. It is going to have to be Chemicals from Immortals, and it's going to be Chemicals that falls. So that continues to reign true here so far for LG on this hold on hookah side, and that could be now that start of a comeback for LG2, knowing that it's tough to take hookah control, so there's less areas of map control for Immortals where they run into the obvious spots on the A side, where the trapwires are set up towards short A as well.
Tripwire destroyed.
A Proto goes for the swing, but again, Immortals winning those duels on the site. There's ults coming out. It's dueling Hunter's Furies trying to stop the spike, and of course, you've got Gangsta swinging for the fences with another ult kill on Hunter's Fury. That would make number 50, by the way, for Gangsta across his career. The retake is underway, but it's also underwhelming. It's only 2 players, so they don't exactly have everything they need to try to get in. A strong camp placement, but your boy Dre actually sneaks inside that smoke so that the dart doesn't give away the position, and he knows it came from showers. The ping is on the spike, so you might see the swing here, and the spray down. It'll be a double for JC Stani. Immortals continue to keep control here on the attacking side, and again, we were concerned looking at this map because of the history between these two teams, and we're talking recent history, not ancient history. Playing in the last closed qualifier where Immortals came out swinging, picked up a big dub 13-3.
Yeah. And now it continues to be one-sided if you're looking at the second half here, Bach, between these two teams. And even then, it's just how well they've been able to contain players that could blow up like Thief right now are currently sitting at 6 and 15 just because he's so well controlled, especially on the second half where so far in all of these rounds, there's only been one round where we had full rifles for LG. So keeping the economy low, putting him back in a situation where they have to be on shares, on low buys, and Thief once again gets canceled out towards his B side, and he gets a second kill shot up, is going to be able to help out his teammate that was fully paranoid into Hookah to tally up on the 4th kill. So Proto at this point, I think he's going to count his losses. I wonder if you're also going to die at this too. Maybe go through the teleporter and try to do some damage on your end. Look for exits. And there you go. He opens a door. He's going to die. You want to make sure you get the max bonus into the next round to get 2,900, right? They haven't really won a round into this defender side yet. So they're going to be coming in at 2,900 instead of 1,000. And now the money comes back into their favor. The good news as well is that after that death, you have a showstopper that's now ready for a Thief. You're 1 orb away from a res for Stellar. You're 2 away from a Proto. Not that useful, at least in my opinion, to try to hold up towards the A side. I think the kills are going to be enough. I mean, as an anchor player like your Proto, to get 2Ks, 3Ks onto the A side, throw the head after, is good enough for me instead of fighting for the orb. So this could now be the moment where LG could hopefully bring it around. But Immortals continue to show dominance here on this attacker side.
Tripwire destroyed.
The ult being popped. It's actually good enough to catch Chemicals around the corner. Rolling Thunder was used as well. There's a flash that allows Shotup to sneak his way into U-Haul, but that nade does significant damage. LG with the player advantage currently. Immortals does have sight control, but not really. There's still a looming threat inside U-Haul, and now it's JC Stanley who realizes the portal is his best friend. As he sneaks his way through and runs over to the opposite site, he'll go ahead and guarantee at least a spike plant out of this one. But it'll be a 1v3, and a nice recon dart as well flies in from spawn for Moose to give away the position of the last remaining member of IMT.
Even the Aldron's going to secure it because now that smoke comes out, he has the paranoia, now they just spray through the box, and there you go. JC Stanley falls, they get the round in. Maybe try to give that defuse to Moose. No, they're just going to go for the full defuse. I guess Moose was probably at 3 at this point, 3 out of 7 or something like that on his ult point, so you want to try to bring it back for Thief because he was able to get good results with it after that kill. So yeah, he's still at 2 and 7 as he was at that point on that previous round. So 11-7, the rifle round comes in once again for Immortals. They're still looking comfortable at the money situation. If they lose the next round, they can still buy again. So it's still going to be a very, very tough battle for LG as they have to try to win 4 in a row to try to tie things up. But the moment that they actually lose the round, there's a potential that they're going to be broken in the economy, and Immortals is going to be at 12 versus broken buys for LG. So they have to come out strong for the rest of this game for LG and not lose that many players in the process of these rounds.
Something of note. I've been tweaking with these tools here on the side, trying to get more analytical. I actually managed to track down, using again the run it back tool. Big shout out to the devs behind that one. Gangsta has 14 career ult kills against Immortals. I couldn't quite trace it down to today only. It seems like that data has not yet been parsed, but that is incredible given that there's 50 total kills and a percentage that high, above 20%. Is against this one team. Shotup. Execution style takes down a Proto with a shot to the dome. Again, Immortals looking really good on the take as they've got a 2-player advantage. Your boy Dre doesn't stand a chance. Everything falling apart here. It's all up to Moose, who was heroic at times against 100 Thieves, but not gonna be good enough today. Chemicals again with the jumping classic. Can we get a stat line on that? Because we've seen so many jumping classic kills for Chemicals in this series. I'm sure it is infuriating for the members of LG, who are currently down 5 rounds to Immortals, and they're trying to punch their ticket into that upper finals.
I would even like to count that stat post-nerf, and it probably will still be high. It's pretty insane. Yeah. But yes, that's it. So you're throwing everything that you can for LG. 2 players only with stingers, rifles for the rest. They have a res, which is that moment of salvation, and also a neural theft to try to get some information. And look at how they played for the Immortal side. They go for this battle again on that Sans control, but what does help is the fact that they have shot up. They have a fault line, they have aftershock, they have 2 flashes, they have chemicals as utility, where Stellar after that, you fall back into the site, you've already used a wall, you've already used a slow orb, so you've taken away a lot of defensive utility towards this B side, when you usually have a Proto playing that Cypher on that A site. So weakened side on B, it's a potential that you might fall back later on into the round and finish up on that site. But this is looking very grim right now for LG. Immortals, they've showed dominance here. They continue to show dominance on the attacker side, and why they're so comfortable playing on a map like Bind. But again, what other map do you try to leave into the pool for LG? You leave Haven, they still struggle into that map. So this is their best chance, and they have to bring their chances now.
Here we go.
30
The
seconds
take towards the B site. Moose trying to shut it down from backside, but with only a stinger, he's hamstrung. And it's down now to 1. It's been reduced to only the Cypher, who's coming through from spawn, and his position's been given away as Nature throws his hat off and may as well be throwing it onto the coat rack to retire from the day, as a Proto is alone. It's a 1v3. It's going to be so incredibly difficult. We've seen him pull out insane clutches, specifically on this B site with a Sheriff, no less. This time he's going to have to do it with a rifle, and they just peak too perfectly. Immortals are making it into the upper finals. They were fantastic on Bind. It was a hard-fought series, but they do manage to scrape up the victory.
And Immortals, ladies and gentlemen, they live on into the Masters. The first team, at least maybe now the second team confirmed, as on the other stream, it seems as though Envy had that victory over Sentinels. So we have 2 of our 4 teams now congratulating both Envy and now Immortals, punching their ticket into the Masters. And that overall in this series between these 2 teams, though, for LG, commiserations for LG, but it's not over yet. They have another chance. They could play against XSET right now, where they've had good records versus XSET, and they still have a chance to move forward. But it's still heartbreaking to hear that now moving into the lower brackets, it's one of those teams that have to go home.
Yeah, looking at the matchup that's going to be coming, it's a little bit scary here. We can take a look at the replays on this third and final map. It started off with a heater. We expected that, the back and forth, and it did remain close in that first half, but in the end, it was Immortals who came out swinging. Immortals' shower defense is something we've praised before, and it looked so good to start things off here. Nature, of course, finding a crazy 4K early on with the stinger. We saw some great shots coming out as well from the pistol play. This was that shot up nosedive scenario. He goes ahead and uses the ult and just runs in. We talked about it coming into this, and even in the last map, whether Breach play for shot up would make him play a little bit subpar compared to what he could do as Reyna. It does not seem to affect him whatsoever.
No, because when you're thinking of a Breach that plays into the team, you're thinking of how everybody else has played it so far, right? We're thinking about the Vision Strikers. We're thinking about G2 that tried it out when Breach had the extra flash as a buff, and everybody else trying it overall. I remember thinking about Vice into Cloud9 on Ascent, for example, too. And it's just, you're playing an agent that tries to set up your teammates. The flashes and dashes, the fault line to try to stun some players to gain map control while the other duelist is trying to run into the map. But Shut Up has been setting himself up every single time, and it pays off and dividends, actually, and profit, because look at that. They've made it into the upper finals, and they also made it into the Masters. So that, we keep talking about aces and whatever, but I think that is a great curveball that Immortals brought in to this map versus LG that countered pretty much that what was the answer to Stellar's pick onto the stage versus 100 Thieves. It seems as though it's going to be shot up at that point with that Breach for Immortals.
Ironic that you say curveball, given that typically he would play Phoenix on the map, the flash name for the Phoenix. We'll go ahead and take a look at the bracket to see where these teams are ending up here in just a moment. Again, you mentioned it on the mainstream. We saw Envy pick up a 2-1 win over Sentinels. That was another hard-fought series between both teams. And here, Immortals and LG, they go blow for blow until they hit that final map a 3-hour series that ends with Immortals crowned as victors. They are now, like you said, punching their ticket into Masters. Both teams, Envy and IMT, in the upper final, guaranteed at the least that. But they're facing off to go ahead and make it into the grand finals as well. And then if we take a look at the lower bracket, you can see where IMT is now, facing off against XSET. And what's crazier than this match to me is 100 Thieves and Sentinels. One of them is going home.
That's insane.
Like, sure, they still get into Challengers 3. There's still an opportunity for them to qualify for Masters, but who would have anticipated
Not me.
that either of those teams would be on that bubble?
When I tried to predict the top 4 moving into the Masters, I was thinking about Sentinels, 100 Thieves, Envy, and Gen G. But the toss-up was between Gen G, Immortals, and LG. Any one of those 3 could be the 4th team. But I would not expect now that looking at potentially, or if not, confirm that one of these teams between Sentinels and 100 Thieves are not going to make it into the first round of the Masters and have to try to qualify through Challengers 3. It's actually mind-blowing to even think about it that way. But nonetheless, that's the reason why we are actually playing these type of circuits, why we actually do have these open qualifiers, and why we do have the top of the top, and these upsets happen because we're actually playing the best of the best. There's actually no chances going in. You have to play your top game, and it shows for the ones that are grinding it. The success also shows.
Now, the winners of these lower games, XSET, IMT, and 100 Thieves Sentinels, they do make it through into Masters. They will be one of 4 teams remaining, so at least then they can breathe a sigh of relief. Because in my mind, moving into this next series, looking at XSET versus 100 Thieves, or IMT, excuse me, if IMT comes out on top, I can see them beating either one of those teams, 100 Thieves or Sentinels, because of the matchup history that we've seen more recently from Immortals. It's going to be a difficult series for XSET in this next lower match. We're going to throw things to a break, but before you do, want to give a quick shout out to one of our sponsors in HyperX. As you can see, this beautiful glowing mic beside me, HyperX, has a wonderful headset known as the HyperX Cloud 2 Wireless. And you saw me last night unplug my headset because I'm not wireless. Legendary Comfort goes wireless with that HyperX Cloud 2 Wireless, so make sure you guys check it out. Millions of gamers have made it their preferred headset as well. And maybe I could benefit from one if they have one that has a broadcast-grade microphone, because I legit stepped on my cable and ripped my mic apart last night. It was very embarrassing. But ultimately, it proves the point. You need to go wireless sometimes.
Definitely. And big shout out, by the way, to Minak that just dropped 50 subs for the Nursery Gamers channel on the second one to support Riot, to support NSG, and also to support the love for this game. So despite .gg always coming in clutch for the support of the community. So shout out to you here, Minak.
We are going to throw things to a break, but when we come back, it will be our second and final series of the day to see who is going to be moving on to Masters and who is going to be going to Challengers 3. A little bit sad. Stay tuned, and we'll return in just a bit.